Right. Well, good morning. My name is Fred McRae, and hopefully you're here in this topic on finding your state job. I am associated with Job One that meets on Mondays. We have a Zoom ID that you can contact us through 910-283-386, which is our account for Zoom. And we meet between 9 and about 11:30 on Mondays. Golden Sierra is hosting us, and so I thank you for Golden Sierra for inviting me to your this presentation. Our agenda today is one of my qualifications are that I've been a hiring manager, supervisor for the last 22 years, working for the state of California out of the 37 years that I've been working and serving the public. The state of California has a website called Cal Careers, and they have 3 steps that we're going to be covering today in finding a state job. The first step is on searching for the job. The second step is assessing whether your qualifications meet what the job requirements are. And then thirdly, to apply and to address those qualifications that you are qualified for. So Sarah, uh, typically when we do a fair, would be monitoring the Zoom chat to ask questions. But since this is a recording, I'm going to move on to the next aspect of it. So the state of California manages about 150 different departments and agencies and covers 58 counties within the state of California. Number of employees that work for the state of California is about 238,000 state workers, and most of them are localized in Los Angeles and Sacramento and San Francisco, with a smattering of other counties that are employed for the different services and job titles that they're serving. There's about a population that we serve of 400 million residents within California. There's about 4,500 different job titles and what they call classifications that are utilized within the state of California within the government. The state announces on the average about 5,000 job vacancies per month. And these jobs are mostly localized, as I mentioned, in Sacramento and Yolo County. I mentioned Yolo County is because many of the state jobs are also located in West Sacramento, which is located in Yolo County. There's a lot of benefits to being employed by the state of California. There's health benefits, dental and vision care. That adds up to about 20% more that could be coming out of your pocket that the state reimburses you for and matches in some of the benefits that they offer. The retirement system called California Public Employees Retirement System, otherwise known as CalPERS, has an asset value of about $40 billion in retirement assets that they invest. Plus, we also contribute to Social Security, and there's also Medicare at some point where there's benefits to there that you can apply for when you turn 65 years old. The state employees can retire as early as between age 50 to 55, depending on the job title and the bargaining unit that they're in. You would have to serve between 5 and 10 years of state service and also ordered to retire. For instance, my retirement, I retired at 63 with 37 years of state service, and I receive about 86% of my working income. They say typically you can survive off of about 70 to 75% of your working income. So, for an example, my 2 brothers who started with the state of California late started and they served for 10 years and both retired at 61 years old when they reached that age. They get an average of about $1,000 per month. Now, The qualifications for many of the state jobs, state titles of those jobs, is based on your level of education. So for instance, if you're a high school graduate, you would qualify for a certain number of job titles. If you have an AA degree, that would qualify you for some additional job titles. If you have a BA or BS degree, additional job titles that could be as numbered up to 6 pages worth of job titles that you could qualify for. There's also positions that require master's degrees or doctorate degrees. So the next couple of pages show you some of the examples of, for instance, a high school graduate. And you can find this page located at this address if you'd like to screen print that page. And so a high school graduate, you can qualify for some of the basic entry-level positions. You can be a health core record technician or office assistant, which is where I qualified to join the state. And I worked at DMV filing driver's license. There's other positions, for instance, food services technicians, supervisor, that would be within the high school graduation classifications. Also key entry operator, if you want to put in data into computers, laborer, lead custodians is also another one. If you want to get into the trades like painter, personnel specialist, personnel supervisor are also within those classifications. And there's also supervisory positions that only require a high school graduate degree. For 2-year college, there's at least 2 pages worth of job titles, and they're a little more advanced, more responsibilities. So this is some of the ones. So if you want to get into accounting, you require a certain number of college classes in accounting to qualify you for these kind of positions. And here's the second page. So you can get into graphic design, maybe possibly an exhibit technician at a fairgrounds, automotive mechanics could also be one of your qualifications. Lab technician requires some chemistry background through some of the local colleges. Also forestry assistant. So there's that. Also some additional trades for electrician are also available. Firefighter, forestry assistant, technicians, pharmacy, and so Parks and Recreation also has assistants that you can be at AA degrees. For a BS degree, there's up to 6 pages worth of the job titles, the ones that were mentioned previously, as well as additional ones requiring assistance for like staff service analysts, associate governmental program analysts are also some of the job titles available. So I'm not going to show you all pages, but here's another page worth to give you an example of what's available. Okay, again, you can look at this location, this link, and that'll take you to the pages here to help qualify what you would be looking for within the job titles. All right, so as a veteran, and by the way, thank you for your service. The veterans do have a status. You have to get veteran status. That would be filed through the California Veteran Assistant Affairs Office. You'd have to provide them with your DD 214 honorable discharge form. The VA would then validate your military service and then would send forward to Cal Careers your veteran status. And at that point, you can take civil service exams based on Senate Bill 112. Now, what Senate Bill 112 did in 2015 is it gave the California Veterans Bill of Rights honoring the veterans for their service. And it also gave them the ability to take state examinations. And if the veteran qualifies by passing with a 70% score or higher, then they're automatically elevated to the 95% score, which is the maximum score that you can get with any civil service exam. What that does qualify you also for is the first rank privilege. Now, once you get on the list for being eligible for whatever job title that you're applying for, that you've taken a test for, then you can start filing for different vacancies that are announced through the various departments within the state of California. And it's still up to the veteran to prepare their presentation about themselves through their knowledge, their work experience, their education, their knowledge, their skills that would have to be presented at a job interview process. But that's not a free given. It's something that you would have to prepare for. Now, there is the Employment Development Department that has what they call the VetNet program, which is federally sponsored and funded. And they offer veterans training and employment incentives for the employer to hire the veteran. So those are available for veterans. Another program that's out there is what they call the LEAP status for the state of California exams. If you are a person with a disability status, you would then file through the Department of Rehabilitation, make sure the medical doctor that you're verify your disability, and that would qualify you through Department of Rehabilitation for the LEAP program, which is the limited exam and appointment program called LEAP. And that gets you into entry-level positions. You would take the exam, and if you pass with the 70%, then that would elevate you to rank 1 instead of being at a lower score. You still have to apply for the different vacancies, but it would give you a chance to be hired through the LEAP program to entry-level position that would help qualify for that. Typically, if you're within the first 3 ranks, rank 1, rank 2, or rank 3, any of those positions that you're in within those ranks would be equal for an employer to hire you. They can go down to the 3rd rank without even interviewing some of the other people if they so choose, and could possibly offer you the position if your presentation at the job interview is satisfactory for what they're looking for in a candidate for the qualifications. Passing the exam gives you eligibility status to any sort of announcements for any vacancies. As soon as you pass the civil service exam, you can start taking the different applications that you can submit to the vacancies that are out there at the different departments. Now, if you're listed in rank, say 4 or 5 or 6 or any of the lower ranks, you may not qualify for the permanent full-time positions because there could be anywhere from 100 to 200 to 500 people in each of those ranks. They would have to clear those ranks in order to drop down to rank 4, 5, or 6. So you may be able to be more reachable by applying for part-time positions or intermediate positions or limited term positions, whereas rank 1, 2, and 3 would prefer permanent full-time positions. So these are opportunities that you have in the lower ranks to still be hired within the state of California. And then when a permanent full-time position does come up after working for the state at a part-time level or intermediate level or limited term level, you can then promote up to permanent full-time status. All right, so here's the website link that you can go to find the Cal Careers website to find out where the vacant positions are, where you can apply for a state application to fill out and send to a local department to apply for various vacancies that might be there. So this is one of the first pages you will see when you go to Cal Careers. You want to go down to here where it says help for applicants and it says how to apply. So you click on this and that will take you over to this page. And when you reach here, you'll notice that they have 3 different steps that you would take. You would want to research out through a series of tools that they offer you as far as search engines. And once you find a position that you qualify for, then you go to the next level, which is step 2, to assess the qualifications you have towards the job title that you're interested in. And if you qualify for that, then you go to step 3, which is the application of that by going over to create your account. And then once you have an account, you can log in there at various times to apply for various positions. You would also click on the Get a State Job to go over to this next page, which looks similar to this in step 1 in searching. So you go over here and that would take you over to this page. So they have kind of a redundancy. So you can either click here or you can click down here. Both of them say Get a State Job. So when you click on that, that brings up this opportunity where you're now in the status of Get a State Job, and you have 2 different options for searching out various jobs within the state of California. So if you go over to, say, Advanced Job Search, you click on it, and it will take you over to this page, which is a set of filters that you can use to look at various job opportunities and various postings of vacancies that are available to be filled by different departments. So here, when you pull this up by clicking on the down arrow, down caret that's here, it comes up with the alphabetical order of the departments. As I mentioned, 150 departments with the state of California that you can look at, maybe because you have a family member working their department. And so that's a possibility, or maybe a friend, or maybe you have a special heart or desire to serve in a department that would be beneficial towards your life philosophy. So another area is what they call job codes. And each job title, for instance, staff service analyst, has this 4-digit number as the identifier for budget purposes. So anytime I see a 5157, that's relatable to the staff service analyst position. If you want to go for, say, staff services manager at the 1 level, 2 level, 3 level, or 4 level, it would start out with 4,800 as the job title. And I would expect to see that in the budget position that would pay for the person working in that particular budgeted position. There's also Information Technology Manager 1, 2, and 3 at 1,405, starting at that number, or the IT Specialist 1 is at 1,402 position. So these are all identifiers. If you know that, then you can go over there and find out what these job titles are. Another category is what they call job categories. And these are jobs that have a category of 22 different job categories that list various job descriptions that are similar in nature to each other. For instance, being analyst or buildings and grounds as a cleaner or janitorial service or maintenance career. And so that's a possibility. So you would click on one of those if you want to get into a particular category. And that's been helpful, but I would recommend going a little further as far as more detail. So I would go down to what they call the classification or job titles, and it's in alphabetical order. And as I recall earlier, there's 4,500 different job titles that are available within the state of California. And these are all listed here in alphabetical order. So you can look at this, and let's say you want to get into accountant one as a specialist, or maybe as a supervisor. So you would click on it to find out more details about that particular job title. All right. And then if you want to get specific, like we're going to be exploring the Associate Governmental Program Analyst, and this is the job code for that. And so you can start out either as a staff service analyst, which is a little lower pay, a little lower level of responsibility, or at the higher level and higher responsibility as an associate governmental program analyst, or what they call AGPA job title. So you would search under that. And we'll explore that in more detail after I get finished with the search engines. So location is by county. So you have various counties, again, through alphabetical order in the order in which the counties are established. So you can go down to the county. Some people live up in the northern part of California, so you want to know where the counties are up there and the various positions that might be available. If you're in Sacramento, there is Sacramento County or Yolo County that you'd want to look up for the various vacancies listed within that county. Another area is posted and last. What that indicates is, let's say you only want postings that you want to see over the last day that they've been posted, or maybe 2 days out, or 7 days out, or 14 days out, or 30 days out, 60 days out, or 90 days out. Typically, if you go over 60 days to maybe 90 days, that would indicate that maybe they forgot to take the job title vacancy off the list. It could be somebody transferred out and they forgot to do that. So anything over 30 days, I would recommend that you probably not apply for because the vacancy is probably filled and they just forgot to take it off the posting. Another area is work type. So you can either work permanent, which means it's pretty much uh, permanent within the state, as it would indicate. Limited term is work less than 12 months. At the end of 12 months, they can terminate you or they can extend you for another 12 months. This strategy is typically a strategy that the state hires during budget crisis time. And I noticed that you would have to go through a hiring freeze in many cases on a permanent basis, but on a limited term, there's more likelihood of being hired. Now, that gives you qualifications for working and experiencing state work, and it also gives the employer a chance to see what kind of quality of work that you're performing. And at the end of 12 months, they could either extend it. Now, you can only extend it an additional 12 months for a total of 24 months being hired from the state. So after that, they have to either hire you on a permanent basis or terminate you and let you go. Another one is retired. So if you're a person who's retired from the state of California, you could be rehired by the state to work as a retired annuitant. And then there's also non-tenured, which means it could be hourly rate. So typically benefits are offered to permanent full-time employees. And in some cases, depending on the number of hours, could be offered to limited term employees as well, depending on as I mentioned, the number of hours that you work. Work schedule means that if you work permanent full-time, in this case, you work 40 hours a week during the whole month, and at the end of the month, you end up getting paid. Part-time, you can get benefits if you work over 20 hours per week, if you're scheduled for that. Some people prefer that. During the COVID time, and there was a lot of flexibility in the work hours, so you can do that. Limited intermediate is up to 1,500 hours or less that you can work per year, and so you would still be paid on an hourly basis that you would record the number of hours that you work, and you'd be paid at the end of the month as well. Again, retired annuitant is one who used to work for the state, retired, and chose to come back working for the state, either with the same position or other position that they'd be working in. The other one is if you want to search by salaries. So minimum salary or maximum salary could be offered. And some people who are, say, consultants would prefer receiving a higher pay per month. So they may consider $8,000 or maybe $10,000 a month and see what kind of jobs are being offered in that pay range. There is something called higher above minimum, which during my 22 years working for the state of California, I only saw twice. We had some consultants that had some real expertise in certain areas that were a benefit to the state, so we hired above minimum, but that requires extreme exceptions to the qualifications of that individual. So it had to be considered individual by individual. And lastly, electronic is a possibility for sending in an application, the method by which you would do that. So pay attention to the final filing date or the filing deadline date, as they call it. If you pass that by, they will not accept your application. So you have to file on that day or before when applying for a vacant position. You can do it electronically, which is handy because doing electronically leaves a date and time stamp on it. So you can get right up to midnight. Don't go past midnight on the final filing date. But if you do that, then you have a date time stamp on there. In other words, I would, if it's that close to the final filing date, I'd hand walk it down to the post office and have them put a date stamp on that envelope when you send it off. That date stamp will be the date that you filed for it. And if it's the date after the final filing date, they will not accept that state application. Another option is to drop off. I actually had a coworker that had to file by going down to Stockton where there was a vacancy. They had to physically be there to hand deliver it to that department, to that personnel office on that specific date. And the next day they had the exam. So the person stayed down there at a hotel so they would be available the next day without having to worry about transferring or traveling. There's also something called spot list, which means it's an exam for a specific spot, location that the exam's being given. And you have to be there at that time, no later than that time. Okay, so that's the advance is one aspect of a job search. The other one is geography, and so you can search by that, by location. So if you go over to the website again that says get a state job, you can go over to the geographic job search. And when you click on it, you'll come up with a screen that looks like this. It lists all the different counties. For instance, Los Angeles County has 315 different vacancies. And this is as of February 5th, 2023. If you go in there the day later, these numbers will change. So, because there's always postings of vacant positions at CalPERS, CalCareers. All right, so in this case, there's a total of 5,408 job vacancies that are posted on this date. So what you want to do, if I were going to strategize or offer suggestions for job search, is you want to look at the counties that have the highest numbers, that have the highest opportunity for being hired for the state of California. For instance, Sacramento River, let's go with Riverside County down in near close to Los Angeles has 160 different vacancies. Kern County, on the other hand, has 222 vacancies. Kings County has 181 vacancies. Placer County, up in where Golden Sierra offers their services, has 18 state job vacancies. And Sacramento has 1,845 vacancies, as you can see from here. So you would go over to the county that you're interested to find out what kind of job vacancies are available. And you would click on it, and it comes up with this screen. It says job search results. And so you look at the Sacramento County is the county in which all these job vacancies are available. In this case, there's 1,846 vacancies that are available. And you can click over here that says group jobs by class, the job classification, and we'll put it in alphabetical order for you. So you click over here, and that takes you over to this listing, starting with alphabetical order. So you start out with accountant, specialist, accounting trainee is a good entry level to different positions. And you can go up to administrator 2, administrator 2 is 3, and also some of the other different positions as you continue to go up the ladder. Over here on the right-hand side are the job counts or the vacancies available. For instance, for a trainee, there's 17 positions. So you might want to enter in as a foot in the door sort of thing to go in that direction. So if I were to go down to, let's say, information officer or information technology, it could be associate, or it could be a manager 1 or 2, or as a specialist 1, 2, or 3 job vacancies. And if I total all these up on the right-hand side, there's 323 information technology positions that were currently available as of the 5th of February. As I mentioned, we'll be exploring the Associate Governmental Program Analyst, and currently in the Sacramento area, there's 246 vacancies. If you're thinking about going into the Associate Personnel Analyst classification, there's 13 vacancies that are available in that position down here. So if you want to get into personnel transactions. But we will be focused on the AGPA position shortly. So once you find a vacancy, then you go over to the job title, like we're going to do here for the Associate Governmental Program Analyst, and we're going to research that out to find out what the minimum qualifications are, or what they call MQs. So to find out if you qualify for that particular position, then you go over here to the apply. And as you go over there, it will take you over to the exam assessment search. And you want to pull up the classification called Associate Governmental Program Analyst. And then you want to do a search on that. So when you click down here where the search engine is, it will then link you over to this, which is the exam assessment search results. So you look over here, and here's the exam for that. It was established in September 27th, 2009, and it's until filled. So it doesn't have a final filing date on there, which means it's continually being an exam that you can take online for the qualifications to see if you meet them or not. And you would then go over here to where it says view exam posting. So you click on it and it will link you over to this page. And again, it's the Associate Governmental Program Analyst, and it's for the exam posting. And then down here, you'll see that there's a highlight that you want to click on that will link you from the 2-page over to the 4-page exam. Okay, so you go over here, and again, it's Associate Governmental Program Analyst. It gives you a salary range. It gives you that this exam is continuous, so you can take it anytime throughout the year. You would then go down to here where it says the official exam bulletin. Well, don't believe it. It will take you to a 6-page link. So this is the 4-page link. You want to go over to the 6-page link because that's where the minimum qualifications will, they'll share that with you to see if you're qualified. So I click on this, and that takes me over to this page, which is 6 pages long. And it says Associate Governmental Program Analyst. It's a state of California exam. It's an open exam. Now, if you're coming out from outside the state of California, having not been employed before, then you only qualify for taking open examinations. And this one is statewide. And again, it's continuous. So I want to skip down to the 2nd page. So this is the 1st page. And what I want is a 2nd page that gives me the minimum qualifications. So I go over here, and here's on page 2, it says minimum qualifications. So as I read down through here, it says all applicants must meet the education and/or experience requirements as stated on the exam bulletin to be accepted into the examination, part-time or full-time jobs, regardless or whether paid or volunteer positions, and inside and outside state service will count towards exam experience. So if you look at the educational requirements, if you go down here, it says the following education is required when general experience is used to qualify at any level. So the equivalent to graduation from college, additional qualifying the experience may be substituted for the equivalent education on a year-for-year basis. And it says, or either that, or you can qualify if you worked for the state of California for 1 year of experience performing the duties as a staff service analyst under range C. There's not many people who qualify under that. So if you're coming in from outside the state, excuse me, then you have to go down to either education, or the second requirement is that you have 3 years of professional analytical experience performing duties in one or combination of the following, or closely related to areas in budgeting, management analysis, personnel planning, program evaluation, or policy analysis. So if you qualify for under these and you were in these professions for the last 3 years, you could qualify for taking the exam. Now, typically, if people have a BA or BS degree or a master's degree, you would qualify under the education. So that's what you want to do with this, but you can do it in combination with work experience, whether with the state or outside the state under these different topics. All right, so then I go over to the next page, page 5, for the examination, and they give you two options. The first option is the exam information, and it's a preview of the training and experience evaluation. Now, you can qualify for under here, and I highly recommend that you take the preview of the training and experience evaluation first. This is a pre-test that you're going to take to determine whether you have the right qualifications based on that. And you can do a lot of research into it. You have the time to do that. And it will give you a list of questions that are going to be asked. And I understand the questions they ask you here at the preview will be equivalent to the actual official exam that is down here. So if you click on this, this will take you over to the preview to questions that are going to be asked. Now you want to take that first because at times some of the exams that you take in the official exam portion could be timed out in 1 or 2 hours. So if you have to do the research to find out whether you have semester units or quarterly units, it may take you a little time to research that out. So take the pretest first. It will also help you in taking the official exam at some point. If you go over here and take this, and you may have limited qualifications or time and you get timed out, you can only take the test once every 12 months once you've passed it. So they usually do this so in 12 months you may have better qualifications that would help make you have a higher score and higher rank at some point. So let's go over to the preview to kind of get an example of how the Associate Governmental Program Analyst exam will be looking like. So you come over here and it gives you some qualifications. For instance, it'll ask you, do you have more than 3 years experience performing this task? As they ask you about it, maybe 2 years to 3 years experience, 1 to 2 years of experience, 6 months to 1 year experience, or 0 to 6 months worth of experience. Each one will net you a higher score. Now, you can't lie on these things because when you fill out the application, the state application in your account, they will refer over to the number of years and months that your experience is in this particular area. The other thing they're going to ask you about is if you perform this task as an expert or one who trained others, having the knowledge level to train others. Do you work independently on this task? Or did you work under direct or assistant others under that task, or not performed at all with that task? So each one will, if you're in the expert range, will give you the higher score. Or if you're working independently, it will give you a slightly lower score. So it depends. Again, you can't lie on these things because if you're found out, they'll kick you off on a permanent basis in the future. So then you don't go down to the kind of questions they're going to ask you. Facilitating meetings, excuse me, with the groups and teams to coordinate and meet project, program, and organizational objectives. So that would be a question that would be asked on the official exam. And similarly to the other questions that are associated here, these are questions 1 through 22. Excuse me. And then starting at question 22 goes down to question 28. So there's actually 28 questions on the preview exam. So you can prepare to answer those questions based on the level of experience and the level of performance. So once you're done here, then you go back over to this page that you clicked on over here is preview. Now you want to go down to the official exam. And by doing that, you would then take the official exam, take it as quickly as you can, but as accurately as you can, hopefully from the information you gleaned off the preview. And you have to qualify for a score of at least a minimum of 70 and hopefully as high a score as 95. Score of 95 will give you to rank 1. So once you've completed the official exam, you push the submit button. It'll take about a minute or two for it to process through to give you a score and a rank. The next time you take the test will be 12 months later if you don't get hired before then. This qualifies you for being eligible to apply for any state vacancy, job vacancies that's available. So if you pass the score, then you qualify for the Associate Governmental Program Analyst and any job vacancies that are out there. I would recommend highly that you, when they display the score and the ranking, you make a screen print of it and save it someplace. Because at some point they may say, well, what was your score? And that score may change over a period of time. This is a snapshot in time. So it gives you the eligibility to apply for different vacancies, and they'll be asking you, what is your eligibility? And you tell them at that particular date and time, this was my score and this is my rank. And that will help justify you applying for that different position. Expect any of applications that you submit could take anywhere from 2 to 4 months before you're actually hired for the position that you're in. You still have to go through the hoops in taking the job interview opportunities that are available to you when you submit applications. They'll review your application. If they like what they see on the qualifications, they'll call you to ask you to come in for a job interview. And you would do some very strong preparation in order to qualify for that because you're coming in from the outside. You may not have the acronyms or policies or procedures or awareness of working for the state of California, but by researching out ahead of time, that will help you to prepare for the language and the concepts that the state works with and will help you greatly in preparing you for the job interview process. All right, so the official exam looks like this. You click on it down below and you'll come up with an image that looks like this. Here's the Associate Governmental Program Analyst. It'll ask you a series of links, whether you're a veteran, what your qualifications are, that sort of thing. You would click down here in the continue. Excuse me. And if you come down here, there's a series of questions they ask you about, have you taken the exam previously? Were you removed from the exam list and your eligibility taken off? They'll ask you a series of questions here. Once you've done that, then you'll go over to the next part, which is step 3, which is to apply. And so then you go over to, before you take the official exam, you would go over there. If you haven't created an account, you would create one at that time. If you do have an account, then you just log in and you would complete the state exam state application process, which is what they call the standard 678 form, and you must complete that before you take the official state exam for that particular job title. In completing the state application, you want to make sure you address the minimum qualifications that you saw as you were searching the job title that you're in. And you want to address any education, any licenses, any certifications, any work experiences along the way in completing the state application for that exam. Once you received eligibility by passing the official exam, you can then start applying for job state applications to various departments that have posted job vacancies from the search you did at the first step. And that would be done through advanced search or the geographical search tool. So by going over to here, going back to this page where it has the advanced job search, the geographical job search, you would then go over to the exam assessment search. You would click over here where it says create an account or log in. And when you do that, it will bring up this screen. And so you want to create an account, or if you already have created an account, then you would go over here to your ID and your password and then log in. And what you'll see along the way is a application, and you have up to 10 different templates or profiles of state applications that you can use. You would want to use one for meeting the minimum qualifications for taking the exam. And then when you start applying for various vacancies, once you've qualified for taking the exam and you passed it, and you're eligible to apply for different vacant positions, then you want to use, say, 2 or 3 of these templates to complete, and you want to establish yourself in applying for various vacancies that are out there. Also, I would recommend that you have any experience in volunteer services. You want to include that as part of your chronological work experience or volunteer experience. It is of value. So don't subdue that if you think that you have volunteer experience. It's of value. So you want to include on the application, you want to include any work experience, any volunteer experience, any education, knowledge, skills, abilities, talents that you have. You want to express that in the state application when you're filling those out. I would recommend that you do what they call a T-chart, and you would put it like this. And then as you would go down through, you would list the job description or duties, job duties. And over on one side, you list all the different duties associated with that. Look at key words, key words that have repetitive words. You want to look at various functions and various skills associated with that. You want to list those on one side of the T-chart. And then on the other side of the T-chart, you want to match up your work experience, your knowledge, your education, your skills with what they're looking for on the other side of the T-chart. By doing that, by identify certain keywords in your work experience as you go down through the state application and functions and skills that will show the person who's reading your application what you have available and what they're looking for in a candidate. And you'll be rewarded with a better chance of getting job interviews than you have in the past. Also, I'd recommend that you don't boilerplate or what I call duplicate applications and just send them out to every department. You want to address the specific key words and key repetitive words that are being mentioned in the duty statement or job description. As a manager and supervisor, I can tell when somebody hasn't reviewed the duty statement that I sent out for posting. So that would be something that you'd want to advance towards. All right, so here's the state application. As I mentioned, it's a standard 678 form. And also it's called a State of California application. You'd fill out all the information in the areas that are blank. Social Security number is optional. Only during exams, you'll have to put down your Social Security number. If you're applying for a vacancy at a department, for any posted vacancies, then that Social Security number is optional. You can put it on there or not put it on there. I know some people have issues with that. So also, you want to fill in the yes and no answers down here as far as are you now employed by the state of California? If yes, then give the department and the subdivision of that you're in. It could be that you're doing limited term or part-time work, and so you list that as well. The lower part of the application, I strongly, highly recommend that when you have completed your application before you submit it, make sure you have signed and dated that application. So many people have spent hours completing these applications and they forget to sign it and date it. If it's not signed and dated, they will ignore it. They will not consider it. So make sure you sign and date that. The next page, page 4 in this case, has your educational level. And so did you graduate from high school or do you have a GED that you passed with? And so that would determine whether you're qualified educational wise for the bare minimum of 2 pages worth of job titles, or if you have university college courses and you still qualify for, say, some accounting positions that require some college education, or if you have a complete college degree. So here's where they mention semester units versus quarterly units. This is what kind of a degree that you have, maybe in business or accounting or budgets or some form of business background. You put down the date of completion, and they monitor this when they're looking for minimum qualifications. Also, if you have any licenses or certifications that are required for like nursing or some sort of trades, it may require that. So you have to determine the issuance date and expiration date in some cases. So make sure you put that down. I would also recommend that you make a copy of the license, that you attach it to the application when you submit it to the employer when you're applying for the vacant positions. Here is one of the pages that you would have to complete. Here's a from date that you started working. Here's the to date from which you are either continuing to work or that you have ceased to work at that particular job title and that employer. How many hours per week, total worked hours. You'd also have to incorporate the reference to the supervisor and their contact information. And then down in duties, you want to include those keywords, key functions, and key skills down in this part of the section. Keep in mind, you only have so many characters that you have to complete here, so be concise and to the point. I'd recommend that you at least include to match up with the minimum qualifications for the vacant position, but also include any keywords functions, as I mentioned before, based on the job description or duty statement. All right. Also, when you're filling one of these out, you can either use paragraphical form or bullet form. I would recommend that you use paragraphical form if you're going for a position that requires you to do a lot of writing and doing reports and doing analytical type work or managerial type work. where it requires a lot of verbal and written communications. However, if you're going into some form of trade, possibly IT, that doesn't require a written format, you may want to use bullets. So in that case, you'd want to put down the skills and knowledge and functions that you did that matches up with what the employer is looking for the qualified person and the qualifications for that person they're looking for to fill that vacancy. If you have only worked with one employer during your whole work time, then you may want to, let's say it may have taken 10 years, but you started out at a base level. I would break this down to 3, maybe 2 or 3 of the same employer, but show them that your job title and responsibilities had changed over a period of time. And so you may want to say the first maybe 1 or 2 years, you did the basic function in learning the job, and then do a second one of these work experiences or employment history, and then show from, say, year 3 through year 5, you did increase responsibilities. And so you may want to include that in there. And then if you have a third level where you advanced or promoted up to a third level, you may want to use a third area of this, the same employer, but maybe a different job title or classification. And you may want to include, say, year 6 to year 10, that you're more advanced level of knowledge and experience and expertise in that area within that same department. So that's how you can get away with, even though you're limited on the number of characters you can put in here, you can still add value to it by showing an increase in responsibility over that period of time with that one employer. All right. And then also, as I mentioned before, this is an area that I would recommend that you only fill out maybe 10 or 20 years worth of work experience. If you find something that's over, say, 20 years and it's applicable to the position that you're applying for, then include it. But for the most part, the employer doesn't want to see where you were mowing lawns way back in high school days. So that might not be applicable or to the position you're going for. So you may want to leave that off. And then at the end of the page, page 10, when you complete this, it's again optional. It says this data assists with the state of California in its commitment to equal employment opportunity. Applicants are asked to voluntarily provide the information below. This questionnaire will be separated from the application and will not be used in any employment decisions. So they typically take this off. Again, Social Security number, your age, gender, ethnicity, various aspects of that. Also, this is where they alert the employer about any disability that you may have through the LEAP program, or possibly veteran status that you served in the military at one point, at which time they may say, well, we have some programs that might benefit one of these 2 areas that would be a benefit to you in hiring you over somebody else. So you may want to consider strongly in doing that as well. So that pretty much summarizes the application process. So we're up to step 3, which is as recommended by Cal Careers. And then I want to mention again that we have meetings on Monday at Job One Career Coaching. It's free of charge. We have volunteers that provide that services. Many of them are former hiring managers and supervisors and have a lot of experience coaching various people in job search strategies. So we meet between 9 and 11:30 Here's our Zoom account number that you can go over to. We have no passcode. We do have a host that admits you. If you have any questions, you can send them over to this email address, and I'll try to provide you with correct answers. The topics that we cover during this time that are cycled through on a every 2 to 3 month basis is, for instance, job loss, balance your income, or maybe having multiple incomes, job search strategies, personal inventory. So if you're searching for a job, you may want to find out what kind of personality you have that would best complement the career path that you want to get into if you're searching for that. On occasions, we also offer skills assessment to determine what kind of skills you have to offer the employer. We have what they call STAR stories, which is a job interview strategy where you S stands for situation, T for task or title. In other words, how did you get involved with the situation? A for action, what kind of action or reason why did you take this? And then R for results. How was the results and it should come out on a positive note. We also have marketing yourself as a strategy for that. We have elevator speech. So within 30 to 60 seconds, you can talk to an individual or a stranger or maybe a potential employer and share with them your qualifications in that short period of time. We also have basic LinkedIn. That is the current means by which recruiters are seeking qualified candidates to fill vacancies that they're searching for or were hired by employers to do. We have networking with your family, with your friends, and some strategies about that. Currently, we don't have one for recruiter perspective, but we anticipate that. We also have how to fill out better resumes and better cover letters, strategies for those who are over 50 that still want to work at that age or older. We also have job interviewing preparation, remote interviewing, and dress for success topics. We also have looking at the panel from their side and seeing what they're looking for with candidates that they're interviewing for. We have objection handling, any questions that might come up during the job interview, and also tips and tricks on how to improve your perception during the job interview. We have coaches forum where you can ask questions of us and we can answer them. Excuse me. And then we have 2 workshops. We have one that's called Entrepreneur, if you want to start your own business. Alex is very good about that. He has several businesses himself, so he knows some of the pitfalls and successes that would help you out. And then we also have finding a state job, which is typical of this topic that we're currently on. So does anybody have any questions for us? If so, maybe send them by email to me or send them over to Golden Sierra and they could forward them to me. So I want to thank you for allowing me to share with you the information I just shared with you.
Thank you so
I
much,
wish
Fred.
you the best for your job search.
Thank you so much, Fred. We appreciate you and all your knowledge and everything that you can help in the state jobs process. And I do want to say Job One is really great and encouraging. So on Mondays, 9 a.m., that's the place you want to be. So thank you again, Fred, for your time and your energy and all of this information. We
You are
appreciate
welcome.
you. All right, everyone, take care. And if you have any questions, you can drop them in the comments of this video and we will get them to Fred, or I will help answer them there. Or as Fred said, you can send him an email. It was on the last screen, or reach out to our team. So thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.